Alright guys, I have my favorite PvP build ready to show off for you guys. I know I've already done a Banshee video, talked about how good it is, and it is a fantastic firearms build to run for PvP, but my favorite is the Predator's Mark, making people bleed. Now, my entire setup for this Predator's Mark when I go through it is entirely attempting to get the best in slot PvP DPS. I tried to avoid everything, protection from elites, damage to elites, everything, and tried to get only stuff that mattered for PvP. There's a couple stats that I wasn't able to get perfect, and some stat rolls are still lower than I would like, but overall this is a fantastic set. So this set runs 300,000 DPS with my current setup that I'm going to show, and 320,000 toughness. The toughness will go up as some armor rolls would get slightly higher, and the DPS roll could go up if I could get a couple crit chances, maybe another percent, 2%, things like that. But overall, this set is fantastic. So the idea of things that I went for in this build is as high crit chance as I possibly could get, extra crit damage when I could get it. I'm using a lightweight M4, which I will show off to you guys. One of my talents on my M4 is actually not a exact damaging perk, and I would love to roll out of that. I've already spent 1,000 Phoenix credits and have yet to get one of the two talents I would like to have. But I'm going to show you my weapon, show the setup, and you guys can check out this build. So again, with this setup, 4-piece Predator's Mark is the way this build is set up. 2-piece is entirely optional, and as you will see in just a moment, I am running Reckless and Savage. A lot of people question me on the Reckless, and that's okay. A lot of people are still running it. Some people are not sold on it. It's something you don't have to do. You can mix and match with another gold piece if you like. You can take off both of those gold pieces and run a 2-piece of some gear set. There is no exact right or wrong way to go. It is personal preference all the way. I'm going for killing agents super fast, so I went for Reckless and Savage. You can adjust however you see fit. So let me go through my gear. I'll point out what I've got, kind of the stats that I've got, and hopefully you guys are interested in checking out this build, and I'll talk more about the pros and cons at the end of the video. Alright, so going through, you see my M4, 301,000 DPS, my toughness at 320,000 DPS. Rocking an SMG secondary with this setup. I was doing an LMG earlier. The SMG is actually quite a bit better than the DPS lets on because of the crit chance and crit damage with it. Alright, so you see responsive, brutal, and fierce, which is an amazing roll on this SMG. So it's actually really good. I've got about 25% crit chance on that SMG. The base damage on the M4 is super high, and I've got responsive and deadly. Stable is the one I've been trying to roll. That's the best one I've got so far, because a little extra stability on an M4 never hurts. I like being able to kind of hold my weapon still and pour bullets into players in PvP, so that's my option for right now until I can get a better damaging perk out. So you can see my weapon mods again: crit chance, crit damage, headshot damage. Those kind of things are highly important for this setup. Alright, so here is my Reckless chest piece. Got firearms, armor. There's the protection from elites. I didn't get rolled out of it. You can see my gear mods. All of my gear mods, all of my major attributes where I could are rolled for as high armor as I possibly can. Gear mods I'm still trying to improve. They're not exactly perfect. Here you can see my mask is rolled for crit hit chance as the major attribute, which is one of the few places you can get that extra in your gear. Your mask and gloves are the two places you kind of want to get crit hit chance for PvP. You can see I'm rocking the 4-piece Predator's Mark, which is the 50% bleed of the damage you dealt for 10 bullets landed on the same target without switching. See on my knee pads I've got burn, bleed, and shock resistance. Those are highly important for PvP because there are shock turrets, there are seeker mines, there are flame turrets, all of these things going on. For my performance mods, if you notice as we go through, only one of them is for pulse crit hit chance, which I use pulse for PvP. The rest of them are for first aid self-heal because there's so little skill power. I kind of need some assistance doing extra healing to myself to keep me alive. My Savage gloves, check these out. Crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and assault rifle damage, which are fantastic for the setup running the police M4 as my primary weapon. Here again, this finishes off my set. You see armor, kind of the usual armor, first aid, self-heal, those kind of things are highly important for this setup. Alright, so I'll show you my talents. I normally use Tactical Link. I use Pulse. Conceal is normally when I'm in a group, going rogue, that kind of thing. If you're by yourself just going out, use the third mod there just to get some extra damage in. Again, I normally run Overdose just because I like more heal. I'm actually running 150,000 hit points, which you'll see in a moment, and that Overdose helps out. Alright, Critical Save. That is a good talent for you to take for PvP. Combat Medic if you're in a group, but there's also another one that's highly important, and I normally run it, is Shrapnel. Shrapnel is fantastic for the Predator's Mark setup because you can bleed multiple people at the same time, even if it's just a little bit. One is None is always good for any build. I highly recommend it all the time. And then last is On the Move, which I also recommend all the time for any build, especially with time to kill really low. The One is None and On the Move are always your first two talents you'd probably need to be taking. Alright, so just reviewing back over these talents, again, Shrapnel is one I've normally run over the Combat Medic, but it's preference. If you've got another talent you'd rather use, it's entirely up to you. Alright, so going through some of my stats, I'll just scroll through, let you check out what's going on here. Crit hit chance on my Police M4 is close to 20%. With Pulse, it jumps up to about 30%. Headshot damage, all of this 30-meter range. You're going to see bonus assault rifle damage. You're going to see the bonus percentage of assault rifle and SMG damage from the Predator's Mark setup. You're going to see all these things. Nothing really special in a lot of this. Again, no skill haste, no extra skill power. Toughness, again, almost 150,000 hit points. My armor is 11,200, almost 11,300. Pretty good mitigation. Again, it's not that special of a build. This is entirely crit chance, crit damage, Predator's Mark, Reckless Savage, killing agents. That is entirely what I've set this build up for. And you're going to see a lot of bleed resistance, that kind of thing. Alright, so stable on my M4. This will just kind of give you an idea of what this weapon has been doing. Using it against players. I'm going to back up and shoot at target all the way in the back of the room. It's pretty good for medium range. Long range, not so much. Short range, it is spot on, and it is an amazing weapon to be using. I know the LVOAC is another weapon that a lot of people are currently using, and that's another option you can use for this setup also. My SMG, I'm going to show it off real quick. Typical AUG, very stable, good crit chance, good crit damage. All of those, it's a great primary secondary combo to have the assault rifle and the SMG for this setup. Alright, so just real quick showing that on this SMG, even though the DPS is low, crit hit chance, crit hit damage are higher. 22% crit hit chance means it's actually still a really good weapon. So let's go through just a few quick pros and cons of this build and show off a little bit more PvP video while I finish this up. Alright, so a lot of people still using the shotguns. That's still in the meta currently, and you're going to run into people like that. What you're going to need to do for this set is not stand close to them. That's generally a rule of thumb for almost any build not shotgun related, is if a shotgunner starts coming towards you, you try to engage them at mid-range. Don't let them get close into the short range and hit you with their shotgun. Run into a lot of shotgunners today in PvP. Some of them were able to get close and drop me, but anytime I was able to catch them at mid-range, drop them outright with little to no issue at all. I run into some people that were more tanky, and it took longer to kill, but with over 300,000 DPS, generally I didn't have too much of an issue. It was a lot of fun running this set. I didn't have a lot of survivability issues until multiple people shot at me. I tested this build solo, and I've run into a lot of 2- and 3-man teams, and anytime I engaged them, I could either drop one and kill them, or almost get them down. Then the 1 or 2 friends that they had shooting at me just became too much for my gear to handle, and I died. That's just the way it is. But when I started running this in a group where I was not being focused out every single time and multiple people were shooting at multiple targets, there was a lot more chaos going on. anytime I caught anybody one-on-one or was able to shoot and just light into people, melted them super quick. So this build is fantastic for PvP. Try to get the rolls right is probably the hardest thing with this setup, but if you get that, you take it into PvP. If you run Reckless Savage, or if you run Savage, something else, or a two-piece of another gear set, you're going to see some pretty good numbers popping up. You're going to see a lot of damage going out, a lot of people not really sure how to handle it. The bleed really catches a lot of people off guard. When they're just running around, they start bleeding, they have to use their heal, then their heal's on cooldown, then all they got's a med pack. You get them to use a med pack, then they're in trouble. You reload, and then they're a sitting duck. So this build is great for kind of catching people off guard. I've run into people today that would pop a blue, a teammate pop a green, they'd pop attack, and still would end up dying. You would just see them rotating their supers or their special signature skills. So you run into a lot of different things in the Dark Zone, but overall this build is my favorite DPS build. Highly recommend checking it out. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope the video kind of helps out on setting this up. Again, a lot of what I showed is arguably the best in slot PvP DPS, and this build absolutely destroys people in the Dark Zone.